Well, dear colleagues, welcome to this quick take-home message of a webinar on dyslipidemia and primary prevention. Are we doing enough? Three colleagues will highlight different aspects of this key clinical issue.
Sum up some of the important messages about this presentation. So we are going from underestimation to optimization, and the gap is there, and we know there is an important gap because we still have people dying from cardiovascular diseases. And the problem is that the risk factors that are actually driving most of these deaths are going to be the traditional ones, but to highlight it, you have hypertension, and then you have dyslipidemia. And dyslipidemia is going to be a huge risk factor that we are not tackling yet. And the problem is that I think that we have three ways that we have to actually look at it to understand why are we still having this gap. And the first one is going to be the underestimation of cardiovascular risk. Actually, the problem is that only 1 in 2 persons have their actually cardiovascular risk estimated by a risk score. So you cannot rely on your clinical judgment. You have actually to evaluate risk so that you can have a way to guide your intensity of intervention. And this is going to be absolutely important. And again, not all risk is going to be within these risk factors. They are very good for an overall evaluation, but you have to look at the individual patient and then consider risk enhancers. And I would stress that a family history of cardiovascular diseases, having an LDL that is elevated, having inflammation like HIV or having an autoimmune disease are going to be major drivers of an increased risk, even in patients that could be actually at intermediate risk if you look at the scores. Now, what I think it is important also is that we have to have the chance to get to targets. And this is not happening, not just because we having this stepwise approach, which is something that the guidelines still tell us to start with a high intensity statin, except for the situations of opposed ACS, which actually could be the problem because we have to be very strict in terms of reduction of risk through LDL lowering also in patients at high risk, not only at very high risk with a previous event. And there are people actually at very high risk that never had an event, like the diabetics with target organ lesion. And for those you really want to have a reduction of LDL that is above 50%, and you're not going to get there only in monotherapy with a statin. So it is important actually not to delay with progressive titrations in therapy, but go straight ahead for the combination that actually gets you to the target. And let's get rid of this clinical inertia. And again, adherence and persistence in medication are going to be absolutely crucial. And yes, people do have troubles when they're having multiple pills, so you have to simplify their therapeutic regime, and that could be actually achieved using combination therapies in single pill combinations. And again, it is important to realize that side effects are a concern, but many of them are going to be just myths. And we have to actually clarify that with our patients and with people in general. But also we have to be aware that this is a silent disease. People are not being sufficiently aware that they're at risk. They don't understand that this is going to be a disease that is going to be taking time to settle. And actually, there is a subclinical atherosclerosis that is going to be a very high risk also, but they are not aware of that. So we have to have ways to actually make people understand that we have treatments that are actually working. They're really good. And it is important to use these treatments properly. But most of all, we have to realize that we have to start early. And this is important because this is a disease that is related also with the continuum exposure to LDL cholesterol that is elevated. We have to be very strong when we try to treat this aggressively, because it is important to bring down LDL as soon as possible. And again, please simplify the regime so that people can actually get to their medications and to targets and remain there. This is going to be hugely important. Thank you.
So
we have to keep in mind that not only LDL cholesterol level is important, but the exposure time is also important because atherosclerotic the disease depends on these two variables. And we have always to keep in mind that atherosclerosis is the real disease. And the complication of this disease is the acute myocardial infarction, the angina, and the stroke. Okay? So we have to differentiate between the disease and the complication of the disease. And if we want to treat to deal with the disease, we have to deal with atherosclerosis. And we don't fight atherosclerosis with stents. We fight atherosclerosis with lipid-lowering treatment. I think that this is a very nice message, that the one week that comes from this meta-analysis. This meta-analysis, in which they are enrolled a lot of patients, thousands of patients, says that each millimole per liter of LDL cholesterol reductions reduces a 30% the 4-point MACE. And we are talking only about people without a previous cardiovascular event. And even this benefit may be larger in individuals at low risk and in those individuals with inflammatory conditions, with chronic inflammatory conditions. So, lipid-lowering therapy works here after the acute coronary syndrome, after the unstable angina, after the stroke, but also works here before it happens. So we had to decrease LDL cholesterol the earlier, the lower, and the longer to prevent not the event, not any event, to prevent the first event, because this first event could be very important for our patients. What happens if we don't control LDL cholesterol level? In this study, in which we enrolled patients with a first acute myocardial infarction, we observed what happened the 2 years before. And we saw that almost 70% of patients were at high risk or very high risk before this first MACE, that less than 20% of patients at very high risk were on high intensity lipid lowering treatment, and that only 10% of patients at very high risk reached the LDL cholesterol target. This means that we have room enough to fight against this increase in LDL cholesterol level, to decrease it, and to avoid these events, these acute coronary syndromes. So to conclude, atherosclerosis starts earlier and progresses silently. This cardiovascular risk accumulates years before the first event. Lifetime LDL cholesterol exposure drives risk, not only how much you reduce LDL cholesterol, but how early you start is important. Every millimole per liter of LDL cholesterol reduction matters, that because it means a 30% reduction in cardiovascular risk in events, with a greater benefit in patients long before the first event. And we know that real-world data reveal a major treatment gap, and that most patients fail to achieve LDL cholesterol targets with statins alone before their first cardiovascular event. Thank you very much.
So I think one of the most important concepts is, why do worldwide experts and many physicians and patients not achieve their LDL goal? And we really do have to focus on this, because it's been shown that up to 80% of patients worldwide are not achieving the LDL target. So our objective really is earlier, longer, and lower. How do we do it? Well, I'm going to give you a snapshot of the guidelines. The guidelines worldwide, including in the United Arab Emirates, are stating that we have to start with upfront combination lipid lowering therapy. And it's beyond statins now. LDL lowering with statins can only give you a 50% reduction with a high intensity statin. On the other hand, if you add ezetimibe, it automatically boosts that by another 15%. So you get your 65% right out of the gate. And then the other concept is inertia in terms of testing. You really do have to test these patients within 4 to 6 weeks of initiation of any lipid-lowering therapy. This is, 1, to guarantee adherence, 2, to look at biological response and effect, and also to make sure that the LDL target is being achieved. So if you look at the updated 2025 ESC guidelines on the management of hyperlipidemia, it's very clear that a high-risk patient is a patient with diabetes and only one risk factor and no target organ damage. That's the majority of your diabetic patients. Any diabetic patient with atherosclerosis, target organ damage, kidney disease, renal disease, retinopathy, or neuropathy is a patient with high cardiovascular risk. This is a brilliant opportunity to reduce their LDL to less than 1.4, which is the guideline target of less than 55. And you can only do that by combining a statin and ezetimibe. The second component is, can we avoid inertia from reducing non-adherence? So two components of non-adherence. One of them is the social media. Patients are being hammered by social media that is predominantly negative. Don't take statins, it causes dementia. Don't take statins, it causes muscle weakness. Of course, all of this has been completely discredited by the randomized clinical studies and the evidence. We know that the lower your LDL, the greater the chance that you don't have a heart attack, don't have a stroke, don't have a cardiovascular event in the first place. And we've known this since 2014 from the Improve It study and all of the subsequent combination lipid lowering studies after that. So I think it's very important to try and reduce the pill burden. It has been shown conclusively in multiple clinical studies that we discussed today that if you use a moderate statin and combine it with ezetimibe, the risk of side effect is significantly lower and the achievement of LDL target is significantly higher. So this makes a lot of sense if you want to initiate therapy in a patient who is a little bit anxious or skeptical, and you give them a medication that changes their outlook. Now, we also know that that extra 55 milligram per deciliter reduction resulted from in a 3.4% absolute risk reduction compared to placebo, which is the statin alone. So I think we really have to do a little bit better in one, identifying the risk, two, using single pill combination which contain enough lipid lowering to reach the target, using single pill combinations, even with the same dose of statin, lowers the LDL by 63% as opposed to doubling the statin, which only gives you to about 50%, even if you use a high potency statin like rosuvastatin. So I think this utilization early makes a lot of difference to our patients. It makes a lot of difference to their adherence. It reduces the possibility of side effects, real or perceived, and increases persistence. But in the end, it allows us to achieve LDL targets quickly, efficiently, and for the long term, which directly translates into less cardiovascular events over very short period of time. And if you extend that during the patient's duration, they may never have a primary or even secondary cardiovascular event. And with that, I thank you very much.
Post your questions in the comment box. The experts will reply, and the CVMD channel secretariat will post their feedback.